Welcome to the auto package for your package BoF. And yeah, if anyone wants to join it, please comment in the IRC. We'll be fielding questions from there. But yeah, take it away.
Yes. So just notice that this is BoF is a conf line, so I will be experimenting a bit with how that goes. So the topic of today will be autopkgtest. Yeah, of course, is to share
So you're
ideas,
up
renditions,
quite a bit.
ideas of running. Okay, let's try my phone then. I'll one sec. This is a bit what I was fearing. My phone is hopefully starting.
Well, ironically, now you sound just fine.
So it's better if I switch my phone on to join.
Yeah.
Anthony, I guess as soon as he actually starts talking about autopkgtest, it will start going bad again. Can you see my terminal window?
Yes.
Yes.
I think while we're waiting for him, let me show you one of the packages I maintain. For Tmux theme pack Jimmy. Basically, it's a bunch of themes that you can use for Tmux. In the description of the package, I have an example of what you can add to your Tmux configuration to load one of these themes. So I press Control-B:, I paste that line into there, and okay, I'm using a terminal that doesn't use the right font, but you can see my Tmux theme has changed. If you have the right Powerline fonts installed and configured, and you'll get nice glyphs that make it look really nice. And there's a bunch of other themes included in that package too that you can find out from the package description.
Okay, that presumably needs to go on the server end or the client end?
That you need to install on the server end wherever you run Tmax.
Yeah, okay. Cool.
Is Albris back yet?
There he is.
Welcome back. You are muted
Paul?
though, so if you're speaking, we can't hear you.
Paul, are you hearing us? You're still muted.
Disconnected.
Maybe we can try having him join again from his laptop, and I can share the screen, and he only shares audio.
I see in the intro, Anthony, that I'm sorry, Antonio, that it that you're part of the Huawei. Maybe you can start. Maybe you can handle that part of the BoF. And
Yeah, I probably can get going.
Okay, I'll just
So-
redo the intro so that we can have a clean recording of this. Cool. So welcome to the running auto package test for your package BoF. Antonio, do you want to take it away?
Yeah, thank you guys for organizing this mini-debconf, and thanks Paul for submitting this BoF. Paul is having some connection problems. He'll probably join us at some point. So I'm leading this initial discussion. So the goal of this BoF, we plan to do a brief introduction to CI and the testing migration gating. And we have some potential material after that. So some tricks, suggestions, and best practices that we copied from the wiki, and we'll copy back to the wiki after we're done here, if we have good improvements to the documentation. So about ourselves a little bit. So I'm the original author of DebCI and the ci.debian.net service. I also wrote autopkgtest, which is a autopkgtest helper to automatically provide test suite specifications for common packages. Like, for instance, all Ruby packages have the same test suite specification. So instead of hard coding it in every package, it's centrally available in Autodev page, and that's run by autopkgtest in runtime, and allows us to be able to change how to run autopkgtest for all packages of a given time without having to touch all of them. And I'm also still maintaining ci.debian.net. And Paul, he got involved with the CI because he wanted to have autopkgtest results gating the testing migration in Debian. So Ubuntu does this for a long time, and we needed several changes in the infrastructure for it to work in Debian. So Paul took that work, and after that started working, he contributed to Brittany to do that, and then he was asked to join the release team. So he's now a Debian release manager. And then we are currently the team that maintains the Debian CI service. We have a few updates since the last time we talked about this. So
Shall I give it a try, Antonio?
Yes, go ahead.
Let's see if my connection holds. So yes, on the CI-Debian.NET service, we are currently supporting 3 architectures. AMD 64, which is the first architecture to be supported. We currently have 12 workers, which seem to be able to handle quite nicely. Recently, we had quite a bit of workers from China. Thanks for those. And one bare metal worker where we actually run 8 CI workers in parallel, yielding interesting new challenges. And there's one machine of PPC 64EL that runs 2 workers. So AMD 64 and ARM 64 are fully integrated into the unstable to testing migration. And we're leaving out PPC 64EL for that because it's just not able to keep up with the 2 CI workers. So we would definitely more for those. But for the dropper can scroll down a bit on his screen. So for old stable and stable, we're using the 64EL to check for regressions in post updates and post updates. Want me to share my screen again? Let me just try once more if that works.
Oh, maybe it's better that I do it, so we don't have connection problems on your end.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Yeah, I'll share my screen.
Just the one that's sharing, scroll a bit down because there's text. A bit more text there. So the release team is indeed using the results for proposed updates and all proposed updates to judge if packages can go into the stable release update. So, and that for that we also use the PPC 46EL. Next to that, I'm on behalf of the release team providing the service to also test experimental. So new uploads to experimental are tested in the same way against unstable as uploads to unstable are tested to testing. And in the documentation in the Etherpad, there's a link to the pseudo excuses, which is also linked from the release.debian.org release team webpage. On the auto-package test side of things, over the last year, there's a couple of restrictions added. And indeed, as Martin recently pointed out, it shouldn't have been restrictions, but they are right now, meaning that you can mark your test as being flaky to avoid blocking other packages if your test isn't extremely reliable. If the test fails, it will not be held against any other package. So it's a way to say my package doesn't always pass when it should. There's the superficial restriction, which is a great way of saying I do have an auto package test, but I'm not actually testing my package substantially. which the release team very much appreciates if you add that to tests that basically just run a help command on a binary. Tests that need internet outside of installing binary packages via apt really should mark themselves with the new needs internet restriction. This is not deployed on ci.debian.net, but we really should do this on our mainland China workers to avoid failing tests when a service cannot be reached. And then we have a restriction which you can use, for instance, if your test dependencies don't migrate to testing, but you want your package to migrate, you can test it in unstable. Or maybe like one of my packages, it runs against MySQL and against MariaDB, but Debian doesn't have MySQL in testing. So I do have the two tests, especially for Ubuntu, but I mark it skipped not installable, that the test is skipped if one of the requirements is not available. And the last one is to mark a test skippable. You can exit with 77, and the test will, the result will be ignored if it fails. This can, for instance, be done if you can only run a test on a certain architecture.
Paul?
Yes?
I have a question. I completely missed the skip not installable restriction. That's news to me. Is it just for test dependencies or also for dependencies of the package being tested?
This restriction is on calls to apt. So if apt fails to install the packages, it will autopkgtest will exit 77 internally, and the test will be marked skipped.
Okay, nice.
Recently, AutoDep8 has got a bit better support for nearly default situations, where the main one is Python modules. If the Python module does not match the binary package name, then you can actually tell AutoDep8 so such that you can still use AutoDep8 even if the module doesn't match the binary package name.
I have a bit to say about that.
Yes.
It also supports adding new test dependencies and restrictions to any package type. So, for instance, if you run the upstream test suite with any supported package type and that test suite needs internet connection, you can declare that you need to add the needs internet restriction, for instance, or any other one. So that works for all package types, and new package types will be mandated to support that as well.
Right. And last year, so then I go for the next point. Last year we had a outreachy student who worked on DAPC, especially in the area of the self-service pages. So anybody that has a self-sign-on certificate can request tests on ci.debian.net. And Antonio recently worked on a major overhaul of DebCI internally, which enables us to make the web pages much more frequent, and it was solving a bit of the infrastructure problems that we were seeing. We also added a whole bunch of links in the Etherpad for reference to earlier BoFs. I'm not so much involved, but I think Ina is also in the meeting here. So Salsa is supporting the auto-package test pipelines. So you can run your auto-package test also on every commit to Salsa. There's a couple of links to wiki pages and more backups. And in the last 1.5 years, I filed about 1,070 regression bugs overall. And they can be found with DB&CI user tag in the BTS. And actually, the testing in stable and old stable already has prevented one package from being included in the stable release update because it was causing a regression. So then I think we get to the point where we can go into discussion of tips and tricks. So I already provided quite a few items in the Etherpad, but maybe people already have questions or great ideas what others should also follow. So please, if anybody has anything to contribute, feel free.
I have to say that yesterday we noticed that there's a lot of gold in those old BoF notes, and we should do a better job of picking them up and putting them in the wiki documentation. So if anyone is willing to help with that, talk to us.
Yeah, I already went over a couple of them and already included a couple in the text below. So
nice.
I'm not saying it's complete, but at least first attempt. I'm not actually seeing what's in the stream anymore, so feel free to interrupt. It's a BoF, so really anybody can add. But I can just continue with the tricks and the later common practices. So one of the ideas of how the release team runs the test suites is by running an auto package test for a certain package. If you upload a package to unstable, then all the reverse dependencies of your test are tested. But this also means that if you're interested to see if a certain package breaks your package, you can actually add, and if you're not a direct reverse dependency of it, you can make a dummy test and add it to the test restrictions, to the test dependencies. So for instance, dgit is doing this to test a couple of its not direct dependencies because of alternatives, but it wants to be sure that any update gets tested.
And does that influence the testing migration? For instance, if some tool that I use just for running the tests causes a regression on my test, is it blocked from migrating?
Yes.
Okay, nice.
So the tests that can block you from migrating are your reverse dependencies and packages that declare your package as being a test dependency. So basically any auto package test that gets run because you upload a package can potentially block your migration.
Cool. So that helps us catch, for instance, testing tools that break compatibility and that are not like direct dependencies.
Yes, and that has happened already quite a bit, especially I think in the Python area. One of the Python helpers. So that's also a thing to it may be good to make clear. When we say something is a regression, it doesn't necessarily mean that the package that causes the so-called regression needs to be fixed. It's important to realize that it's just a test that fails. And apparently the test was relying on old behavior that's not there anymore. That can mean that either that behavior should come back, or the test needs to be updated because of the changed behavior. Maybe the changed behavior is due to a bug fix. And then the test is just wrong in blocking in that sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it happened with Make recently also, right?
It happens all the time.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why I file nearly all the bugs that I do file against both packages. So I've been filing all my bugs against the package that just got uploaded. And at the same time, I file it against the package that has the autopkgtest that fails and say, please align between the two of you what needs to happen. Because as a bystander, it's most of the time extremely difficult to judge. And the person that uploaded a package knows what changed in his package. The person that has the autopkgtest knows what he's actually testing. And they need to communicate and align on what update needs to happen. And what I make, so when I file these bugs, I file them against the version of the just uploaded package, which is in unstable, and against the autopkgtest containing package, which is in testing, and the severity of the bugs is serious, which means that the regression causing package will not migrate, but also, as long as it's not a key package, the package that causes the contains the failing autopkgtest is eligible for auto removal. So basically, also there's an incentive for both to actually fix the situation. No questions to that. The next trick that's on the list, and it's still on my list to actually check how to do that, is that GNOME is using the accessibility bus to test GUIs. So that has apart from being able to test if a GUI works as you expect it to be, it also has the advantage that you're actually testing accessibility. So it's a great thing to consider if you want to test a GUI, because you're testing two things at the same time, which is great. I entered a section in the Etherpad for improvement suggestions, and already wrote down a couple myself, but please add items if people have some. So a couple of things that I just came up with, and some of them are already on our ambition list for a while, is we'd like to support isolation machine restriction. Obviously, it needs work and it's not trivial, but in the end, we'd like to have that. One of the things that recently started to come up is that some tests run fine on AMD 64, but may fail on ARM 64 or PPC 4060L even. And for the maintainer, it may just be too much work to go fix the test on a different architecture. So it would be nice if the framework would already support saying, well, this test is only supposed to run on AMD 64 or whatever architecture you want.
I have a question about that.
Yes.
So on the porter boxes, we have nice change root integration to test build packages. Is there some recipe or is there some work done to include auto package tests into that? Because I'm not sure it would work just like that. Or can you just run the auto package tests on the porter boxes and then debug it like this?
So if depends on your test. So if your test just runs a tool and checks the output and doesn't need services running or anything else, then it should work. I mean, you should be able to run the auto package test against SSH root or even running from inside the exchange root, running with the null virtualization. So it should work. But if your test needs...
Yeah, but you need to install the package.
Yeah, you need to install the package. Oh yeah, we don't have.
And there's this DSA. You have this DSA wrapper around it. So
yeah, we
I think
can
it's not
install arbitrary packages, right? Yeah.
It would be nice to have some kind of integration there. Otherwise, sure, you can copy paste a lot of app install DSA change root stuff.
Yeah.
But if you could just work with DSA or whoever did this, that it's just a one-off command to run auto package tests, automatically installs that via the wrapper. That'd be nice.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Another way of doing it would be to add support for other architectures in the Salsa. Add new Salsa runners running these architectures. That also works. At work, we use ARM 64 CI runners on GitLab, and it just works.
That would also be fun, but difficult to debug still. If it
fails. You're right.
Yeah, I'd just say if there's a kind of distinction between things that aren't working today on other architectures or shouldn't work on other architectures. In principle, someone like me should come along and make it work out why it doesn't work on ARM64 if it should, and fix things. Or Antonio even. Some of us get paid for this stuff. But obviously maintainers, they might just know this is x86 only sort of thing. In general, if it builds on the other architecture, it should probably work as well. Can't offhand think of tests which are Arch specific, but I guess you could write them.
Yeah, so my point here really is that you may want to start using auto package test, but you're not ready to commit to all the architectures. And you may just want to be able to say, well, these I can now support. And of course, you in the end want to get rid of all of them. But
yeah,
it is obviously already possible because of the skippable restriction. But then everybody needs to start implementing detect the architecture and exit 77 in case of unsupported architecture.
Yeah, I guess my thinking is that we should try and employ the same principle we did in Debian generally, which is, people go, oh, well, I only care about AMD64, so they set the architecture to only build on that. And you go, no, that's wrong. Even if it doesn't work on the other architectures, leave it trying to build on all of them, and it carries on failing. And we shan't stop your thing migrating until unless it's regressed because it used to work and now it's broken. If it's never worked, then that's fine. So if we can try and think about it that way, I think that's better in the long term, rather than encouraging maintainers to just mark things. No, it doesn't work on other architectures. Who cares? Even if that's expedient.
So in the release team, we have also written to the announce list that we consider all failures in testing currently already as a RC bug. We want passing tests. And that counts for AMD 64 as well. So,
okay, cool.
Sorry, go ahead.
Now, one of the points is that sometimes also tests regress in testing without being caught by the migration tooling, especially because we don't test the full reverse dependency tree, but only one level. And there's flaky tests and all that. And you don't want to make that all vaguely. And then basically the statement is, if it fails, it's not a good auto-package test. And obviously then that has the drawback that it should work on all, or, well, currently we say AMD 64 and ARM 64.
Mm-hmm.
In your experience, is it more common that the package itself fails, or is just an artifact of the test suite not being so good?
Obviously, some tests, and that's actually one of the items in the recommendations below, is actually captures specific output. And of course, that sometimes depends on the architecture that you run the test on. So the person that wrote the test captured something on his architecture and embedded that in the test, and then it doesn't work in another architecture.
So I have some stupid questions. I'm not sure it's very useful, because basically I haven't used autopkgtest at all. I've been vaguely aware that it existed for years, and I really should use it, and none of my packages do. And I just read the instructions 5 minutes ago. So it seems you basically run an arbitrary script.
Yes.
That's what the tests are. Okay, so you can run. So do we have a load of standard tests you can stick in to save people writing shitty scripts for normal things like, I don't know, it installs and...
Yeah, so one of the recommendations says, please don't install stuff. We have PO parts for that.
Right, yeah, okay.
But so the idea is you run an auto-package test, and that's in the best practices section. In the important line, it says you run on installed packages. That's the idea. And you can have the your installed package do anything you want that you can think of. And I've seen huge variation of what is actually testing.
So how do we check? How do we have built-in things for looking in output for, because there's a problem that output's not always absolutely consistent, so you can't compare it against a file necessarily.
Well, some people do, or some tests do.
Yeah, there are several tools that can help you. So there's even unit test frameworks for shell scripts. So you can write the stuff. There is a very nice tool called CLI test, where the input is something that looks like a shell session. So you have $ space command, and then below you have the expected output, and then the test runs against that and checks that's what happens.
Okay,
it's very
cool,
useful.
Yeah. Cool. I guess examples of things is a good thing for getting people like me going. Well, okay, I really should do this. How does it work?
Yeah.
Because
there's quite actually it's the last. It's the last item on this improvement suggestions to gather examples somewhere.
Yeah,
this is exactly an item that came up in the BoF before.
In the CI.debian.net documentation, there is a tutorial that is a transcription of my DebConf 15 talk, and it's a little outdated, but it has some examples already.
Right. I might even have seen it already and gone, yeah, I should do that.
Yeah.
Okay, cheers.
Yeah, but to give a completely different example, one of my packages just recursively curls over the web pages of the framework that I'm packaging. So it just starts at the index.html page and recursively goes over all of them and catches all kind of weird upstream bugs as well. It's crude, but it's extremely efficient already.
Yeah.
Okay, so Paul, one thing you should know is I've been specifically tasked with make sure that CI works on ARM64 the same as it does on x86. So if there's anything, I mean, it seems that we have infrastructure now, so that's the first thing fixed. But if you come across specific problems, feel free to pester me. There's people who would like this stuff to work well, so we can get things done.
Nice. Are you on the DebCI channel?
No, I don't suppose I am. But I'll
Please
do that.
be.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen very ARM specific failure.
Yeah, I mean in general stuff should just work, right? But I'm
Yeah.
just saying that there are people who care, and are prepared to spend engineering resource on it, which is always the important bit.
Nice. So Wookie, on ci.debian.net, there's if you click on status, one of the items there is architecture, is platform specific issues. So you can find stuff that passes on AMD 64 and fails on ARM 64, and the other way around as well.
I just joined #Debian-CI and there's nobody else there, so that can't be right.
No,
There's
it's
three
just
of them.
that
Yeah,
guy.
okay, it's pretty exclusive. Cool.
It's just DebCI, not Debian Dash.
Ah, okay.
So I'm sharing my screen so I can show it. So we have here we have platform specific issues. So there's a list of stuff that has different results.
Oh, in case I get really
on
bored,
different
right? Yeah, okay,
platforms.
cool. Right.
Maybe we should exclude when it's the switch changes, because here it's test something that fails in testing and doesn't have a result unstable. But if you, I think this listing should be cleaned up a bit.
I agree with that, Antonio. I have a couple of suggestions later on as well.
So I think we should consider just architectures here and not suites, because testing versus unstable is already caught in other places. Yeah, so this is not so useful. Ignore what I said.
But it could be.
Yeah, we can search for ARM64 here to see if anything comes up. Well, so for instance, this one, it fails on ARM64 but passes on unstable on AMD 64.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, well, thank you. Our time is unfortunately up, but that has been a very interesting BoF. And yeah, if anyone's got any more questions or wants to discuss it further, DebCI on IRC or in the MiniDebConfOnline IRC channel. There's going to be a short break now, and thank you for all those who participated in the BoF. And our next talk will be DebPlate, building many binary packages with templates at 1 o'clock UTC. And that's by Ben.
Thanks, chaps.
All right, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.